Using index match instead of VLOOKUP will give you more power, more flexibility, and it will also make you look more professional because index match is considered the more grown-up version of VLOOKUP. So I suggest that you invest the next 5 to 10 minutes to watch this video, learn how to use index match and start using it from today. Also, don't forget to update your CV and your LinkedIn profile because showing that you know how to use index match really signals that you're not an Excel beginner anymore. So let me first show you what index does and then we see index and match together. I have this table where I have the tickers for 10 UK stocks. The weights are in column B because this is a fully invested portfolio. As you can see, the sum of the weights is 100. You can see that in the bottom right. Then I have the market capitalization in column C, the yield in column D, and the domicile in column E for each one of these stocks. Now, what does index do? Index is like a lookup in the sense that it will retrieve one information from a bigger data set. My data set is here, is my table. So imagine that I want to retrieve the market cap for Soho, for example, which is here. Then I start typing index after the equal sign, and then I have 3 arguments. The first one is the array. The array is nothing else than the table where I have all my data. So I'm just going to select this table. And now I have to put the second and the third arguments, which are the coordinates for the data point that I want. So basically where my data point lives within the array. So if I want the market cap for Soho, and this is a little bit like Battleship, then I need a coordinate for the row, which is 8, and I need a coordinate for the column, which is 3, because the market cap is in column C, which is the third column in my dataset. So if I just press enter, I get 378.62, which is exactly what we wanted and what we expected. Now, the problem with this approach is that we don't want to hard code the coordinates, because if we knew the coordinates for the data point, we would know the information in the first place. We want Excel to do the work. Usually we know the column. The column is not a problem. I can check whether market cap is in column C or in another column. That is easily verifiable. But it's the row that we want to change dynamically. And we're going to do that with the match function. So now I'm going to do the same thing, but I will replace the 8, so the second argument in the index formula, with the match function. So now let me change a little bit the spreadsheet. I'm just going to take a subset of all the stocks that I have, because usually this is the situation in which we find ourselves. We have a subset over to the right or in another spreadsheet, and instead on the left here in my example I have this bigger initial data set where all the information lives. So now I want to retrieve the market cap for these stocks. I'm starting with index again, of course. The array is always the same as this table over here. I'm going to lock this using F4 or function F4. And now for the row number, we're going to use match. Match also has 3 arguments. The first one is the lookup value. The lookup value is the common element between my small subset and the bigger dataset I'm getting the information from. In SQL, we will call that the key. So in this case is the ticker for the stocks. The lookup array is the second argument. And this is where my lookup value lives within the original dataset, so the one I have on the left. My lookup value, the ticker, lives in column A, of course. So I'm locking that as well. The last argument of the match function is a number. It's either 0, 1 or -1. And because we are working with exact data points and not with ranges, I'm going to put 0 to get an exact match. And then I'm closing the parentheses. Remember that match is just the second argument of the index function. So now we have the last one, and remember that is the coordinate for the column, so the column number. In this case it's still 3 because market cap is in the third column. So I can close this now and it will return the value that I wanted. At this point I can also drag down the formula and fill the information for the other tickers as well. When you put this story into formulas, it looks very complicated, but lookups are something that we do all the time, that is part of our lives. For example, if I had to tell you an analogy, imagine that we are at the restaurant and I ask you to check the price of the shrimps, then you would check into the menu. Now, within this analogy, the menu is my array. The lookup value is the shrimps, is that unique value. I don't want the clams, I don't want the mussels, I want the shrimps. So you presumably open the menu, look up down until you see the shrimps, and then you probably look to the right of that value to get me the price, which is the data point I'm interested in. Awesome. So the last thing I wanted to show you is that if you didn't want to hard code the 3 in the formula, you could use the column function, which works for Office 365. I'm not sure with earlier versions, but here instead of 3, you could just use column, which returns an integer equal to the number, the column number, depending on the cell that you use as an argument. So here, if you reference C1, that will return 3 because C1 is in the 3rd column. And this could be actually useful for those times where you want, for example, to also retrieve the yield, which is exactly in the column after. And in that case, you could just drag the formula horizontally and then vertically to fill the other cells. Just make sure that in that case you've locked all the cells appropriately. Well, that was everything for today. I hope that this explanation was clear. If not, please drop me a comment and I'll be happy to do a follow-up and dig a bit deeper into how we nest these formulas. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this far. I'll see you in the next one.